Welcome back, it's me Lou, and I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are looking at this. This is the Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins Baroness figure. So not to be confused, this is not the G.I. Joe classified figure. Here is the G.I. Joe classified figure. So this is the more premium figure here. I believe this is a slightly larger scale also. This falls within that 6-inch scale. Versus this, which is more of a budget figure. This action figure falls more in line with, I'm guessing, 5 to 5.5 inches. If you're familiar with some of the more budget toy lines that Hasbro makes, like for example, there's the Gamerverse Avengers figures. There were the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame figures. And there's also the Spider-Man movie figures. Hasbro makes a budget line of those action figures, and like this figure here, they're smaller in scale. Those aren't to scale with the Marvel Legends. Those are about 5 to 5.5 inches tall. So this action figure here kind of falls within that. So it falls within that price range, but also in terms of that kind of model of action figure. So yeah, here is the Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins Baroness figure. So this was a recent acquisition that I found at my local Target. As of today, it's August 3rd, 2021, so I found this yesterday. I was kind of excited when I saw it. So far, the Baroness, the G.I. Joe classified one, this is the only movie figure I have in my possession right now. I know that Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are out, but this is the only one I found. And I didn't find this in the wild. I actually found this at a toy convention. But I was pleasantly surprised to find this. If you've watched my previous action figure videos, you'll know that I kind of collect budget figures also. I'm really into the Hasbro Avengers Mech Strike line. In the past, I collected the Avengers Infinity War figures and the Endgame figures. And I dabbled a little in some of the Spider-Man Marvel Cinematic Universe figures also. So I kind of have an affinity for these smaller budget figures. As I've mentioned before, I like, as much as I love like Marvel Legends and Star Wars Black Series and G.I. Joe Classified, I really dislike also just the plain budget toys. For one, they're more affordable, and I kind of feel sometimes I get more bang for my buck. Like, I think it's cool if I pay like, $9 or $10 for a toy like this, and it, the articulation, they've improved it. They have more articulation. They come with accessories, and for me, they're just fun toys, and that's all I'm about. I love this collecting fun toys in general. So I was really excited when I saw this figure, and yeah, let's take a look at it. So first off, this is on a this is a carded figure. It's not in a box like the G.I. Joe Classified. Much like her cousins that fall into like the Avengers Mech Strike line and Hasbro's other like budget toy lines, this is a carded figure, and I believe the card size is almost the same too. So this is about the same size as maybe like an Avengers Gamerverse carded figure. The graphic design of the package, it's really eye-catching. I love the red and the black. When I was walking down the toy aisle, this immediately caught my eye. I love the Snake Eyes logo. The red backdrop looks awesome. And there's kind of a ghosted image of Snake Eyes in the background. You have Snake Eyes in the lower corner, which kind of surprised me. I thought it'd been cooler if they actually gave you a portrait of the Baroness, but they give you a little photo here of the Baroness, which is cool. Here it is, this the Baroness. Ages 4 and up. I love how the package, it frames the figure really well, but also displays the accessories she comes with. So she comes with 2 really cool cobra-headed daggers, and she comes with this crazy-looking gun that has like a cobra head at the end of it. Yeah, so far I'm liking what I see here. On the back, this is more fig photography. I believe this might be a render. This might not be the actual toy. This might be a computer-generated render of the figure, just because it's really clean. It doesn't really have any of those discrepancies of something that's sculpted by hand or something that's printed out of a machine. So here she is with her weapon, and it gives you some. It says here like her waist twists. So I'm not sure if she's spring-loaded or if it's just letting you know that she has a waist swivel. Unfortunately, like a lot of action figures, they don't really, in my opinion, I don't think they make good use of all the real estate on the back of the card. Like for me, I think it'd been cool if they just shrunk down this just by a little bit and maybe give you like a bio, like a profile or like a file card like the old G.I. Joe figures. But so far, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. It looks like a beautiful figure. All right, so let's take this out. All right, this kind of pains me because I love collecting these budget figures, and there's a part of me that loves this collecting them mint on card and it's just displaying them. But until I can find another set, I really want to review this, so I'm gonna take this out. Alright, so first impressions of the action figure while still in the tray. Really impressed. So this is a budget action figure, so what that entails that in the past, usually these would fall like at $9.99 if I remember correctly. But for some reason, I'm not sure if this is the case for just action figures in general, but I know that they've been marking up the prices on some of the action figures lately. Like, I believe that Star Wars Black Series, and now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're no longer marked at like $19.99. I think we're starting to creep up into that like $20 plus territory. And I think that's the case with these budget figures also. What was really curious about this is that when I saw this on the shelf, I don't remember if it was marked on the peg. So I took this to the price scanner, and the price scanner, it pulled up the online price. It said available online for $9.99. But then when I went to the checkout counter and checked it out, it was $10.99. So I'm not entirely sure what was going on. Like, is this figure cheaper if you buy it online versus than when you buy it in the store? What's the actual retail price of this? Is it $9.99 or is it $10.99? So for me, it's kind of weird that these $9.99 figures are starting to shoot up in price. Because I also noticed that they had a new set of Spider-Man action figures by Hasbro, and those are budget also. And the price for those were on the pegs, and that was listed at $10.99. And that kind of took me back also, because if I remember correctly, the last Spider-Man movie, their budget figures, I believe, were $9.99. So maybe, we're starting to see a price markup on these budget figures, which kind of bothers me because, even though it's only $1, there's like a sweet spot. You pay $9.99 and you get a really cool figure. But, once you start entering those double digits and you're paying $10 or more, it's kind of like, we're kind of creeping into a little bit more of a pricier range. And then for me, that sets my expectations a little bit higher. If you're going to start increasing the price of the figures, for me, give me something a little bit more, But, this is the way it's going, and, that's part of the game. If you collect toys, toys aren't free. You got to pay for them. So, looking at this figure on the tray, it's a beautiful figure. And I don't want to oversell it, but I'm really impressed with the sculpting on her. She looks awesome. All right, so let's take this out. Okay, yeah, so one cool thing about this figure now, keep in mind this is a budget figure. So budget figures, they're more meant to be played with. They're not necessarily aimed at serious collectors. These are aimed more at kids. So on the back of the box, they showed that there was a waist swivel kind of thing. And I wasn't sure if this meant that, her waist is articulated or if that's spring-loaded. So much to my surprise, it's actually spring-loaded. So, take that as you will. For me, I think it's a cool little feature. If you're a serious collector, the spring-loaded feature might turn you off, especially if you're into fig photography, just because it kind of limits what you could do with the figure. But I think it's a cool play feature. If you're a kid, I think you'll get a kick out of this. It gives her, some action features, so she could, fight with the Joes. She could, punch them and stuff. Yeah, so this is, wow, really impressed so far. The sculpting is beautiful. There's some great texture going on here. So that's something that kind of surprises me. So This is a budget action figure. It's aimed more towards kids, but the detailing in the sculpting, it's at a for me at least, it's almost at a premium level. You're getting all this fine texture on her body armor all throughout, and that's a detail that, they don't necessarily have to give you. Now with budget figures, one thing you'll run into is that there'll always be limited paint articulation. I mean, not articulation, paint application. So there's always going to be a limited amount of paint application, and I think that's the case here by a little bit, but I think at the same time they're good at covering the parts that need to be covered. For example, this it looks like this is a blue plastic with, I think, 3 different painted colors. You have black, you have red, and you have a dark gray on her boots. I think that's a dark gray. It looks a little bit different than the black. I might be wrong though. And there's some shortcuts here because you can see some of her straps, they could easily be painted black, but instead they just paint, which looks like, would be a pseudo holster. Yeah, the sculpting's beautiful. Like, you get this nice striated pattern on her boots. Her knees, her knee guards have a cool little design on it. But it's the texture throughout the uniform that really catches my eye, especially when the light comes off of it. It kind of like highlights all this really neat texture on her. Because it's so easy to take a figure like this, and if you removed, that micro texture, all of a sudden the figure takes on a different feel. It might feel a little bit more comic book, a little bit more cartoony. But it's a weird hybrid. Like, the face is much more cartoony and comic book inspired than the body armor. Like, the amount of detail that's on the body armor is something I'd expect like at a higher price point for an action figure. So yeah, like, the sculpting on the body armor is great. It surpasses even some like Marvel Legends figures, which is very surprising. Alright, let's talk about articulation. Her head, I'm not sure if mine is just a little tight or if it's because of the hair, but it doesn't want to... It looks like it's on a ball joint, but mine doesn't want to rotate. I don't want to force it right now. Alright, I just did, okay. Alright, so I guess the paint might have just been stuck. So her head rotates, looks left and right, looks up and down. In terms of her arm movement, her arms rotate, they go out. And instead of having a bicep swivel, her elbows bend, but they also swivel. Unfortunately, there's no wrist articulation. As I've mentioned, her waist, it's spring-loaded, and if you move it the opposite way, it'll lock into a new neutral position. So let's reset her. All right, there you go. Now, the spring load stuff is cool, but at the same time, if I was a little kid, I could see myself just going nuts on this and, constantly spinning it around to the point where it might break the spring-loaded feature. So, I mean, it's one of those things, if you're a kid, you might like it, but I think it might be more prone to breakage, possibly. If you're a collector and if you're just putting this on a shelf to display and you're not really fiddling around with it, it's cool, you don't have to worry about that. In terms of her legs, she kicks up, she can kick out. Her knees, it looks like it's always single jointed, so they can just bend. But I think with the way it's made, it given swivel, which is a nice thing. It's cool that they're providing more features. It's cool that Hasbro's providing more features to these budget action figures. Like, if you've collected some of their Avengers or Spider-Man figures, Avengers especially, some of their Avengers lines, you just be able to kick up, But now they're starting to not only give you the knee bend, but they're allowing you to swivel it out, which is awesome. Unfortunately, there's no ankle. She does have peg holes in her feet, but these peg holes look really large. I don't know what kind of peg would fit into there. Yeah, so I'm really liking this figure. One thing you'll notice that even though this is marked for the Snake Eyes G.I. Origins movie, this does not capture the likeness at all of the actual character that you see on film. So here's the classified series figure, and this is what the character looks like in the movie. It captures the likeness of the actress. I want to say okay. It's not spot on, but it's close enough. So you compare these two. This is very comic book inspired, and very cartoon-like. You know, you have the brighter colors. She has, she has like Baroness is mostly known for wearing plain eyeglasses. This one has like future looking like sunglasses. It has it's like a black frame, and I'm not sure how well my camera captures it, but the lenses are kind of a shade of silver. Her flesh tone is kind of like a light pink, and she has red lipstick, so she really embodies that femme fatale sort of look. And if you compare height, they're pretty close. This one's a little bit shorter just by a hair. Now, what I think is really cool about this figure, I gotta take the head off to double check, but even though it's a different flesh shade than this figure, I'm kind of curious if you could do a head swap. Like, so for me, I don't have the G.I. Joe Classified Series Baroness that comes with the motorcycle. This is the only Baroness figure I have right now. So I'm thinking if I got initially I was thinking if I could find a second one of this, I would just do a head swap with maybe like a Marvel Legends figure or something, and, you know, create a more cartoony or non-realistic version of the Baroness, just because I didn't have that, the motorcycle 2-pack. But part of me is thinking that if I found another one of these and another one of these, you know, is a head swap possible? Maybe, we'll see. If that does happen, you know, I'll do another video and I can show it off. But yeah, for me right now, I think it's cool that you get even though it doesn't represent the actress from the film, I think it's kind of cool that you get a unique sculpt for this character altogether. Yeah, so for me, I look at this figure and I see options. It's cool that even though it's the Baroness, one thing that's a glaring omission from her is that I don't see the Cobra emblem on her anywhere. She doesn't have a Cobra symbol on her chest. She doesn't have them on her body armor. So for me, there's something kind of cool about that because it opens up the possibilities of a custom. Like, if you know, you can easily turn this into another character if you wanted to. You know, if you want to fudge this into your Marvel Legends line and repaint her black and make a new Black Widow character, you know, go for it. If you want to make a new Spider-Woman figure, or if you see this being possibly like Domino from like X-Force, you know, there's a lot of limitless possibilities just because she doesn't have a sculpted Cobra emblem on here. I mean, for me, that's really surprising because it's weird that they'd omit such an important detail for a character that's so iconic. But at the same time, at least she's retaining that Cobra color scheme. I kind of wish I brought the figure with me, but there's a part of me that thinks that this shade of blue, I don't think it's a match for the G.I. Joe Classified series, but I think it's a close enough shade of blue that you could like possibly army build this figure with a head swap, and you could have her be like a Cobra infantry trooper. So that's something that I'm really interested in. If I could find a couple more of these, you know, I might buy a couple, do a custom head swap, and you know, easily make more Cobra infantry troopers. But instead of just having the male ones, it'd be cool to have a female Cobra trooper, and I think this is a great base body for that. So yeah, this figure, very impressed so far. Her accessories. This is awesome. She comes with these Cobra-headed daggers. For the life of me, I can't remember if this is a Classified series accessory or if this is a new one altogether. Either way, it's awesome. The blade's shaped really cool, and it has a Cobra head on top. And it comes with two of them, so you know she could dual wield both daggers and, you know, be a badass. Now, I love this thing. This crazy looking rifle. It's very science fiction looking, and it really drives home the fact that she works for Cobra. I mean, you have this awesome like snake head at the end of it. It looks really cool. I mean, this I can see some collectors being turned off by this, but for me, being a child of the '80s, it was always fun when you got these accessories that really reflected or reinforced the theme of the character. Like, you know, she's Cobra and she's all about being Cobra, and it's just really cool that all of her weapons have some sort of Cobra figurehead on it. You know, whether it's the Cobra on the handle of her daggers or the Cobra at the end of the shaft of her rifle. There's just something really cool about that. Now, unfortunately, she doesn't have any like holsters or sheaths where she could like store her weapons. But for me, that's forgivable. It's a budget figure, but you know, for me, you're getting 3 accessories. You're getting a spring-loaded feature on her waist. It's neat. It's fun, and I'm really digging this a lot. So let's compare it to All right, so truth be told, I'm lazy. I don't want to take this figure out. But I do have a classified figure on hand to compare it to. And we'll compare it with the first version of Scarlet. So as you can see, there is a scale discrepancy. It's not by a lot. It's enough that I can see some collectors being like turned off by it. But as I mentioned before, the budget figures, they're a smaller scale action figure. You know, they're not meant to be in the same line as the classified series. But for this figure, I think Scarlet's a little short to begin with. Let me see. Like, here's Storm Shadow. Yeah, so Scarlet's a little short to begin with. And let's try to line these up so that they're all about the same height. Or at least they're all level with each other. So yeah, as you can see here, she's a hair smaller than Scarlet, and Scarlet shorter than Storm Shadow. And if you had her next to other Cobra, you know, classified series figures, yeah. But I think it's cool. You know, for me, the scale isn't that big of an issue. It doesn't bother me that she's a little bit smaller than the other figures. I've never been a scale guy, so I could kind of care less. Yeah, so this is awesome. I take it back. I think on her belt buckle, there's a small, tiny impression of what could be interpreted as a Cobra emblem, but it's so vague that I can't really tell. So yeah, this is a great action figure. Really, really cool. My biggest complaint, if anything, is, like I said, you know, if there's a price hike on these, if the new model for the Hasbro's budget figures is to place them at $10.99 versus $9.99, for me that kind of bothers me a little. Because, you know, where we're going to be a year from now? You know, is it a year from now? Is the trend going to continue? Are we going to be at the point where, you know, a budget figure is going to be priced at $11.99 or $12.99? You know, it's kind of dicey, but do I feel this figure is worth the value at $10.99? Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's the sculpting is beautiful. She has a cool spring-loaded feature. The articulation, it's not as deep as a G.I. Joe Classified or as a Marvel Legends, but it's improved upon previous budget figures that Hasbro's done. The accessories are really awesome. You know, you could easily incorporate these accessories into your G.I. Joe Classified figures, because with accessories scale, you know, it's roughly almost the same. So yeah, gorgeous figure. If I had to rate her numerically, I always say this, you know, my first impression, I just wanted to give her a 9. Now, is that too generous? It might be, but for me, for one, the sculpting, it's top-notch sculpting, especially for a premium figure. The fact that they give you a play feature, now this could be a turn-off for like the more serious collector, but if you don't mind it, it could be a plus. For me, in terms of this being a non-premium figure and it aimed more at kids, you know, I think this is a well for me, this is well received. I like the fact that it has an actual play feature. She comes with 3 accessories. The sculpting on the accessories, beautiful. So yeah, for me, this is an easy 8.5 to 9. We'll leave it at that. So yeah, don't sleep on this figure. Regardless of your feelings about the movie, like for me, I found the movie entertaining, but I can understand why people have issues with it. But looking beyond that, this is a figure, don't sleep on this. If you think that the G.I. Joe Classified series is the end-all, then, you might have an issue with this. But for the price point and the possibilities of this figure, you could possibly troop build her. She's a great base for customs, and she comes with some really cool, unique accessories. For me, it's worth the price of admission. So, yeah, don't sleep on this figure. If you see it, give it a shot, and I think you'll like it. If not, if you think it's crap, you can yell at me all you want in the comments. I don't care, but this is awesome. I'm very happy I got it. I also have the Storm Shadow and a Snake Eyes from this line, and I'll do reviews on those also. I'm not sure which order I'll release the videos, but I just wanted to get one of these out there in the meantime. So, once again, thank you for stopping by and checking out this video. As usual, it's running a little bit longer than I thought it would take. I thought this would be like a quick 10-minute video, but we're already approaching 27 minutes. So if you stuck around that long, I thank you. Feel free to drop by anytime, and until I see you again, take care.